Hey everyone, this is Kit Cabello with Hard Lens Media, and we here believe in giving a voice to people of different perspectives and those that are fighting for a better future. And I am proud to introduce this guest, as she is definitely stepping up in regards to addressing the concerns of what's happening worldwide. Everyone, I am proud to introduce Councilwoman from the city of Seattle, Kshama Sawant. Kshama Sawant, thank you so much for joining us. For our viewers and subscribers, could you just give us a short background to who you are? Because there's a lot of questions I want to ask you in regards to what's happening in Seattle and nationwide.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. My name is Kshama Sawant. As you said, I am a city council member in Seattle. I am not a member of the Democratic Party establishment. I am a socialist. I'm a member of the Socialist Alternative Party. And I was first elected in 2013 as an independent socialist candidate, and on the promise of fighting for $15 an hour and taxing big business and rent control and really fighting against racist policing. And we were able to win the historic fight for 15 within 6 months of my election, which of course went nationwide after that. Since then, we have won two re-elections. Last year especially was important because we won this election despite the absolute tooth and nail opposition of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, the Chamber of Commerce, and the right wing. And right now, we are fighting alongside the movement for racial justice and against police brutality, and fighting for a ban on chemical weapons, crowd control weapons, on chokeholds, and also fighting to defund the police by at least 50%, and also fighting to tax Amazon. And last but not least, I'll just say that in my organization, in Socialist Alternative, we believe that the only way for working class people to really build social movements and win victories is for us to have our own representation in the halls of power. So my loyalties are not divided between big business and working people. I'm unambiguously rooted in my office is rooted in the working class community. And in order to hold myself accountable, even though the city council pays me a lavish salary, six-figure salary, I take home only the average worker's wage, and the rest goes into solidarity funds.
So I think there's first of all, again, like we've been following your career, and we've also been doing reports on what you've been doing in Seattle. So there's a lot I want to ask you. So first, I want to just ask this question right now, especially with the most recent stuff. There is right now a massive movement within the city of Seattle calling for real accountability for the corrupt actions of the police department there, in which they used chemical weapons, tear gas against American citizens. And, you know, right now there's a major pushback towards even the mayor of the city of Seattle in regards to really bringing accountability. But yet Fox News is running this propaganda fierce campaign against you because they're afraid that all socialism is taking over. Meanwhile, they're forgetting that just, you know, before the George Floyd protests, there were massive groups of militia members who had their guns spitting in police faces, you know, storming various city halls and Capitol buildings, demanding everything be reopened again. And now we're seeing it like innocent, you know, protesters, peaceful protesters being smeared, being tear gas, being abused by police powers. So essentially, two-part question. What are your comments in regards to how Fox News has been smearing you and the movement in Seattle? And then two, what is going to be done to really bring true accountability to the Seattle Police Department? And what happens if the mayor fails to acknowledge the will of the people?
Yes, that's very important, the questions you're asking. I mean, first of all, just on the right wing, and also, you're talking about Fox News. And also, let's not forget, Donald Trump himself tweeted about the movement in Seattle. And I would say, first of all, I would say that the agenda of the right wing and the Trump administration is horrific and reactionary and dangerous, and we should not take it lightly. So obviously, we have to have a strong and public pushback against any question of the military being brought to Seattle, as Donald Trump has threatened. So, on the one hand, we don't take it lightly. But on the other hand, we also have to recognize that when Donald Trump and starts tweeting about your movement, and when Fox News are issuing all these ominous warnings, that means that they are actually they feel threatened by our movement. And so we have to derive confidence from the fact that our movements are actually having an impact, and use that as a sort of a springboard to build even stronger movements. I mean, Donald Trump is a reactionary, but he's also a coward. And so rather than be cowed down by the right wing agenda, we should recognize that this is a historic rebellion of entire generations of Americans who are fed up with racism, and police brutality, and indeed by capitalism itself. And there's a search, this movement, it's not like everybody's on the same page in the movement. There's a lot of discussion and debate still to happen. The movement has to think through all of those things. But one thing is true, that the new generation is in a search for something other than the system of capitalism, because it's clear to them that this is not working. And you mentioned the violence directed at the protest movement in Seattle. And this is where I think we have to develop a real clarity in our movement, because the best way, really, and the only effective way of fighting against the right wing agenda of Fox News and Donald Trump is to recognize that we have to build independent working class movements on the ground, because Seattle and Minneapolis and Atlanta, many other cities, are examples of how these are cities where the Democratic Party establishment has held sway for decades, and it still does. And it is on the watch of the Democratic establishment that we have seen an abhorrent culture of impunity by the police department, where so many Black and brown community members have been murdered by the police, and not a single police officer has been brought to justice. That lies at the doorstep of the Democratic establishment. And in Seattle, there's no Republican establishment here. We have had successive Democratic establishments, and it is under their watch that 30 Black and brown people have been murdered since 2011, and 8 since this current mayor took office. And it's not only that. Look at the tragic irony. This is a protest movement against police brutality and violence, and that movement was met with police brutality and violence. And in fact, I was there with the protesters on Sunday night when we got maced and tear gassed. This horrific violence with this police force. I mean, they were just a few feet from us, armed to the teeth with their riot gear, with their tear gas grenades, their flashbang grenades, their mace canisters, and their rifles and their rubber bullets. It was incredible. And there is so much anger at this kind of violence at the protest movement, that now tens of thousands of Seattleites are demanding that Jenny Durkan, the Democratic establishment mayor, resign. And I've joined them in that call.
Okay, so there's a lot of things to unpack here. So first, in regards towards the horrible attack that happened to the protesters, I'm sure there's a lot of, is there right now a case that's being made against the police department right now? And then second, there is calls for the mayor to step down. What does that look like? What does that detail to basically have a vote of no confidence in the current mayor of the city of Seattle?
Right, you're absolutely right. There is actually now a case that has been filed by the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, on behalf of communities of color who have been targeted with police violence. And this is really important to understand. The reason this case has come up, and the reason there is a demand for the mayor to resign, is that there's this false narrative, completely false, 100% false narrative, that the police were responding. You'll see this word all the time. They were responding to the protest movement, and maybe it got out of hand. Maybe they were excessive. That is completely untrue. We have to dismantle that whole falsehood and make sure people understand that 100% of the violence has come from the police, not from the protest movement. And in reality, they are not responding to anything. They are targeting the protest movement, because the primary function of the police state under capitalism is to quash any kind of social movements, because that threatens the legitimacy of the status quo. And it's dangerous for the capitalist class, because it allows people to imagine a different kind of society. And so it's important that the ACLU has brought this lawsuit forward. And as far as the mayor is concerned, we shouldn't expect that the Democratic establishment is going to give in easily and allow the mayor to resign. This will be a long and hard fight, and I'm not sure whether we will win or not. There's no crystal ball for social movements, but it is critical that there is this demand in the community. And in fact, just to tell you, it is Democratic Party rank and file activists who brought this demand forward. So in other words, it shows the potential to build solidarity around concrete demands like defunding the police, like winning an Amazon tax to fund social housing and jobs and the Green New Deal, because Democrats, socialists, independents, we are all united that the status quo as it is not working. And as far as if she doesn't resign, I have said that I will bring articles of impeachment, but we will need a much stronger movement to bring that forward.
All right, and if again, just real quick, if people want to help out the movement and where they need to go, where's the is there anywhere online they can go real quick where they can learn more about it?
Yes, if your viewers just Google my name and say Seattle City Council, or just Google my name, you will see the my city council website, and there you will find all the information. And also feel free to go to socialistalternative.org, which is the website of my national organization, where we have a lot of analysis, especially about what's happening in Minneapolis, because we have a very active branch there that is part of the movement there.
All right, and now I just want to get your comment on this too, because we've seen in some cities, for example, in Minneapolis, where they're calling to defund the police department. In Chicago, Mayor Lightfoot is a strong ally to the CPD, but even Bernie Sanders, whom I'm surprised by this, he's all on board with getting rid of the military weaponry that the police are getting nationwide, but he's not on board with the call for defunding the police. Can I get your comments in regards to the fact that maybe Bernie Sanders is not really feeling the room? I mean, where do you really stand on, or what do we really think about his comments recently in regards towards the police brutality that's happening nationwide, and the fact that there's a movement calling to defund the police?
I think it's unfortunate and disappointing that Bernie Sanders and some of the other national leaders who could have used their platform in a decisive way haven't. And it's a reminder that we need elected representatives who it's not just at a given moment if they show some sort of moral purity. The question is, do we have elected representatives who will throw themselves into the front lines of movements that are developing in the here and now? Because otherwise it's sort of pointless to have those elected positions, because those elected positions are meant to be able to amplify social movements and help movements move forward towards victory. And that is why it's really a matter of honor and pride for us in Socialist Alternative that we are using our position in this way, where we are on the front line alongside the movement. And just to give you another example of Socialist Alternative, the president of the transit workers union in Minneapolis, Ryan Timlin, he's also a member of Socialist Alternative, and it's another incredibly important example of how people in elected positions of different kinds, it doesn't have to be a city council or US Congress, even union leaders, we need them to step up right now and embrace the struggle right now, because there is a real moment where we can push things forward, not only to win reforms under capitalism, but to really move forward the conversation about what kind of system do we actually need, because we're not going to win the kind of justice we need on the basis of capitalism.
So, I know right now you have this huge fight with the mayor, and of course, definitely representing constituents. But there's another institution that really has it out against you, and it's Amazon. And during your last election cycle, and please, if you have the exact number, I'd like to know. But they spent millions upon millions of dollars against you, so they can have their candidate go up against you. It's essentially going forward. I want to get your comments on Jeff Bezos and really right now what he's doing with Amazon and how he's treating the workers, because at this point we're hearing so many stories from various Amazon workers from across the country that these warehouses are not safe. We are seeing the fact that COVID-19 is impacting a lot of those workers. How do you really plan on dealing with somebody like Jeff Bezos, who clearly him and his company have a problem with you and your message?
It's absolutely true what you're saying. Amazon and Jeff Bezos and the entire billionaire class, not only of Seattle, but probably they had connections nationwide as well, went for tooth and nail in their attempt to get us out of office. They went to war against our campaign last year. And in fact, when we launched our campaign early last year, early 2019, we had in a way predicted that this would happen. We said in our campaign launch, long before Amazon went to war against us, saying that we are predicting that Amazon is going to war against us, big business will go to war against us, and that ultimately what this election is about is the question of who gets to run this city. Is it going to be working people and the community, or is it going to be big business and the billionaire class as represented by Jeff Bezos? But he's not the only one. So I think it's really important to recognize that a lot of the social ills that we see in our society are stemming from the kind of system we have, where someone like Jeff Bezos can become he's on track to become a trillionaire, at the same time that we have an unprecedented of housing affordability and homelessness crisis in Seattle, in Oakland, in Los Angeles, in Chicago, in Minneapolis, in New York City, in you name the city, and we have a housing crisis and homelessness crisis there. And yet this is the wealthiest country in the history of humanity. Clearly this is not working. And just to give you a sense of how much potential there is to fight back, during these last 10 days of protests around police brutality, our campaign, to get the Tax Amazon ballot initiative on the ballot, has collected a whopping 10,000 signatures. So it's very clear among ordinary people that a corporate dominated society is not going to work for us. But it's not clear so much what do we do instead. And I think we have to present an alternate vision. And as a socialist, I would say what we need is a socialist society, which is to concretely describe it, it would be a world that's based on solidarity and equality, in which the world's resources and all the major corporations are democratically owned by workers. So just as you mentioned, Amazon, the executives are making money hand over fist, and yet they are denying their workers basic pay, and they are firing their workers in the warehouses simply for demanding that there be an industrial cleaning of the warehouses because of the COVID crisis. It's clear that this kind of system, where the vast majority of the world's resources are in the hands of a few, while the rest of us go to work and our labor makes the profits for those corporations, this is not working for us. I mean, let's be clear. Jeff Bezos is not on his way to become a trillionaire because he is a genius. Maybe he is intelligent. Fine. The point, though, is that Jeff Bezos did not invent online shopping, much less the internet. And the reason Amazon makes such massive profits is because it has fought tooth and nail politically through its using its political power for corporate tax havens like in Seattle. And that's why they went so hard against our campaign last year, because we're fighting to have a modicum of taxes on big businesses like Amazon. But they don't want to do that, and they are also afraid of the example it sets to the rest of the world.
Mhm.
And they're afraid of build workers building any kind of workplace power. And that's why the work warehouse organizing is so crucial. And we have to talk about actual unionizing of Amazon workers.
So of course, we know that the two-party system, the DNC and the RNC, are basically bought and sold by the major power players, Wall Street executives, big banks, major corporations, the top 1%. But usually the narrative that we hear on corporate media and from these neoliberal, neoconservative politicians is that, oh, no, you can't vote third party because you'll help the other person win. So effectively, I understand that Socialist Alternative is a political organization, but more and more Americans are identifying themselves as independent. So as an individual, but also representing Socialist Alternative, what is Social Alternative prepared to do to really build and maintain power so it actually can get involved into American politics, not only at the city level, but county level, state level, and dare I say it, potentially maybe at the federal level, in regards to where Americans can have more choices in regards to voting? Because I personally do believe that we should have a true parliamentary system where we have numerous choices to whom we want to represent us.
Right. And just to give you some sense of where Socialist Alternative has put its efforts. We were an integral part of the Occupy movement in multiple cities, including Seattle. I was personally engaged in the Occupy movement. And then as the Occupy movement was winding down, we saw that generally the status quo was that everybody was being told, well, let's just hunker down and vote for Obama's reelection because nothing better can be done. As you said, get the idea that, well, we can't do anything with third party politics, so we are stuck with Democrats or Republicans. And certainly Democrats are not the same as Republicans, and so maybe that's better. And so the idea of the lesser evilism, which is a completely it's a dead end for any kind of social change. And so what we did, I mean, Socialist Alternative is a small organization. We are based in many cities, but we are certainly not an electoral machine like the Democratic Party by any means. We are rooted in social movements, and it was through that kind of analysis of being inside movements that we decided that in 2013, sort of coming out of the Occupy movement, we decided to show an example. We didn't even know when we launched the campaign, we didn't know we were going to win. And you can't predict that. And you have to be movements have to be willing to run their own candidates without the guarantee that you will win, because the act of running the campaign helps mobilize people and helps a discussion of real ideas. And that's what we were hoping to do when we launched the campaign for city council. But we ran such a strong campaign, and this is also important for our movements. We have to be strategic, and we have to have tactical victories. And the reason we were able to win the campaign, of course, was people were open to a socialist being elected, but also because Socialist Alternative, alongside the thousands of people who fought with us, including Democratic Party rank and file, we were able to run a strong campaign and win a historic victory. And then the example that we have shown in the last 6 years with our office, we hope is a kind of a glimpse. It's a glimpse. We hope is a glimpse for what could be possible if the working class had its own party. So I wouldn't pretend that Socialist Alternative is that party. What Socialist Alternative is advocating for, and what we have shown through our example in Seattle, is that the working class and our social movements need a party of our own, because, as you said, despite the differences between the Democratic establishment and the Republicans, ultimately what ties them together is their unshakable loyalty to Wall Street. And on that note, I had from the very beginning urged Bernie Sanders to run independent. I endorsed him even though he ran as a Democrat, but I didn't think it could work, because how can uh, an agenda of a political revolution against the billionaire class achieve success from within a party that answers to that billionaire class? There is an inherent contradiction there. So even though it seems like a very long and hard road, and which is why people veer into lesser evilism, because they are daunted by the idea of building a new party, I understand that it is daunting. But here's the deal: as daunting as that idea is, that is the only path forward, because as Bernie Sanders' run again showed, that despite tens of millions of people being completely electrified by his message of a political revolution against the billionaire class, he was not able to win. The movement was not able to win because it was caught in this logjam of a party that itself answers to the billionaire class. And so, if you're thinking about what's impossible, that's impossible. Winning a real candidate like Bernie Sanders through the Democratic Party, that's impossible. It is not impossible to build third party politics, but it is going to be hard, and we will need to be strategic. We will need to build solidarity around concrete demands. But one other thing I'll say, I mean, I'm an immigrant from India, and in India there's a parliamentary system. There's a multiplicity of parties. I just wanted to be clear that it is not simply a different political system or having more parties. That's not by itself going to guarantee what we want and what we are fighting for, which is a party that actually is accountable to the working class. Because in India, we have, as I said, a multitude of parties, and not one single one of those parties stands for the working class, which is why you've seen right-wing reactionary like Narendra Modi and his Hindu fundamentalist government be re-elected, even though people are angry at him. There's no alternative to him, because all the parties are corrupt in different ways, and not one of them stands for ordinary people. They are all standing for the capitalist class. And that's why it's not so much how many parties, it's a question of what kind of party can we win. And that party ultimately has to be tied to an anti-capitalist vision also, because we're not going to change society if we are tied to this false idea that we are going to be, we're going to win a just society on the basis of capitalism. That is simply not going to happen.
All right, and I'm kind of glad that you brought that up, because even here in the United States, where this is probably a little bit outside Seattle politics, but it will impact Seattle politics nonetheless, and that is Americans have two choices. You have Joe Biden, who has 30 years in American politics, who basically helped design this neoliberal, neoconservative system we have, and then we have Donald Trump, a reality TV show host, who probably is the last person who should be president of the United States, and we have these two very mentally questionable old men running for the highest office of the land. And I think at this point, a lot of Americans are sick of this choice because it's not really a choice, because it's lesser evilism. So then going forward politically, what can Americans do to really get involved right now? Because I have a sense that there's a lot of people that are demotivated right now, that are confused, that are scared, because you have two choices. And at the end of the day, neither one will really represent the working class. They're only going to represent their only constituents, and that's the top 1%. So going forward, what's the real answer? How do we keep people motivated in this political system when we've seen the establishment and corporate media constantly go against independent candidates or independent media or any kind of independent movement? I mean, let's look at what Fox News is doing to your movement that's happening there in Seattle.
Yes, I think that's very important to point out that actually Joe Biden is not an alternative to Donald Trump. Yes, it's absolutely necessary and crucial that we defeat Donald Trump's dangerous, reactionary, right wing agenda. But it is important for us to be armed with the analysis that Donald Trump himself became a phenomenon, and got elected because in 2016, because precisely because wide layers of the working class were demoralized at not having somebody like Bernie Sanders to vote for. And they correctly saw Hillary Clinton as yet another representative of the corporate agenda that has not worked for them. And so the only way really of uniting ordinary people, and in fact we can also win over people who may have voted for Trump out of frustration. And that is not to say we have to have illusions that there isn't a right wing. It is dangerous, and we have to be very well aware of that, and that is our enemy. But the point being that the only effective way, really, only real way to fight against the right wing and win against the right wing and have a society that is free of such dangerous ideologies is to fight to unite the working class across race and across states, so that we have a party that takes up concrete issues that are affecting working people. And just to talk about Bernie Sanders, we disagreed with him for running in the Democratic Party, but what did we see in his campaigns? What we saw was the incredible ability of his political program to unite people across states, where even states that you would be tempted to write off as right wing or reactionary, like the states in the South, were he was popular in those states precisely because he brought forward working class demands like the need for Medicare for all, like the need to tax Wall Street so that we can have good quality education for our children, the question of affordable housing, the question of rent control. All of these are issues that have the potential to unify everyone. And I would say, even now, just concretely speaking, even now, you can see that there is so much solidarity for the Black Lives Matter movement. And by the way, let's be clear, the polls are showing that the BLM movement is more popular than Donald Trump. So that should tell you where America is. Let's not be demoralized enough to think that Donald Trump has that kind of popularity. But you're also right. We can't be smug about this like the Democratic establishment has been, which is why they lost the election in the first place in 2016, is understanding that the reason the right wing has an echo is because the left hasn't managed to build itself. So we need courage right now on the left to say that Biden is not the answer. We are not going around saying people should vote for Biden. We're saying that the Democratic Party establishment and Joe Biden are not the answer. And the working class needs a party of its own. But that party is not going to come out of the ether. We have to build that on the ground through organizing around concrete demands, like right now, organizing around the demands of Black Lives Matter, organizing around demands like the Amazon tax, workplace struggles like the Amazon warehouse workers, public sector workers. Just very concretely, right now, we are in a recession. The burden of this recession, the devastation that is going to be experienced by working class people cannot be described in words. And so here is an important opportunity for us to organize against public sector austerity, and with public sector unions leading the way and demanding that we have the billionaire class pay for this crisis, not working people. It is through that concrete organizing in the community renter struggles and in the workplace through unions that we can actually build the building blocks of a party for the working class. But that is a project that is immediately posed in front of us, without which we will see not just one Donald Trump, but 10 Donald Trumps being created because of that vacuum on the left.
And that's, I think, a very good note to end it on. So I think, importantly, there's one thing I do want to read out, and this is definitely towards everyone. We got a super chat from Jonas Levinson, and it's a very high amount, who basically says, socialists unite all around the world. So I think there's a whole big movement that's happening that corporate media is obviously turning a blind eye to. So thank you so much, Jonas Levinson. But also for our viewers and subscribers, if they want to learn more about you and Socialist Alternative, where can they go online and on social media to find out more about yourself and Socialist Alternative? And are there any events that you want to mention that are happening right now so that our viewers can share it or, stand in solidarity with you?
Yes, absolutely. Your viewers should definitely check out socialistalternative.org, socialistalternative, one word, .org. And there is very important analysis we have there explaining how we can win a society free of police and free of racism. How can the working class get organized? What is the role of the labor movement in all of this? I think there's hunger for this kind of analysis. So if you've been looking for something like this, an explanation of the society and where we can go from here, please check out socialistalternative.org. You can also Google my name, find out the contact information for my office. It's very easy once you Google my name. And feel free to write to us, call us, send us a text message. We will respond. And it's important to keep those kinds of connections alive. And in terms of what's coming up on Monday, this coming Monday, I'm going to be bringing two very, very important bills. If passed, they will be historic. One is a ban on the use or purchase by the Seattle police of any kind of chemical weapon or the so-called crowd control weapons, and another bill to ban the use of chokeholds by the police. Now, we don't believe that the bans in themselves are going to be the end of the road. We will need to go further. But if we are able to win this vote, and if the movement is able to force the Democratic Party establishment to vote yes on these two bills, there will be an important step forward. So if you are able to write to the city councils, Seattle City Council, the email address is council@seattle.gov, G-O-V. Let them know that you are watching. If you live in Seattle, especially, you should write to them. But even if you're not, you should say the people across the country are watching what you're doing because this is a historic moment, and we are watching if you're going to stand with the movement or betray us.
All right, and that's a fantastic note to end it on. Thank you so much, Councilwoman Kshama Sawant from the city of Seattle. All the best to you, and definitely for the protests that are happening in the city of Seattle to hold the mayor and the police department accountable for their actions. It's quite clear now more than ever we must step up to fight for a better future, and it's been a real privilege to have you onto our show. We do hope for some future follow-ups here and there. We know you're very busy, and we're glad that you made time to be on our show. So once again, thank you so much. And to all our viewers and subscribers, thank you so much for joining Hardlens Media. Peace to you guys, and let us all do what we can to build a better future.